problem.
Okay, that is Washington Post sports columnist Kevin Blackistone. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
And it's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin.
And I'm Steve Inskeep.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Rebecca Kesby, and on today's NewsHour in Gaza, as Israeli tanks approach Khan Yunis in the south, the UN says civilians face an even more hellish scenario. In Nigeria, the army says a drone strike on a village was a mistake, and the Tesla whistleblower raising safety concerns. That's BBC NewsHour coming up at 9 on WNYC.
40 now and partly sunny in the big city, increasing clouds, and 43 for a high today. Tomorrow slightly cooler, partly sunny. Tomorrow night is going to be cold, below freezing in the city. Right now 40 and partly sunny at 8:51.
WNYC supporters include Apple TV Plus presenting The Morning Show, starring Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and Billy Crudup. Loyalties are pushed to the brink when a tech titan takes an interest in the news network. More at fyc.appletvplus.com.
On the next All of It, the lowdown on makeup. The use of eyeliner goes back 3,000 years and transcends continents. The author of the book Eyeliner, A Cultural History joins us. Plus, beauty company Glossier was an industry disruptor until it got disrupted itself. We'll talk about it with the author of Glossy, Ambition, Beauty, and the Inside Story of Emily Weiss's Glossier. I'm Allison Stewart. Join me for All of It, weekdays at noon on WNYC.
A legal case could overhaul the income tax system as we know it.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks delivers what's next in cybersecurity innovation to protect today's digital way of life. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. The Supreme Court today hears oral arguments that could determine the broad question of what money Congress can tax or not tax. It's a case with wide implications, including how a wealth tax might be deployed in America. Marketplace's Nova Safo explains.
The challenge comes from Charles and Kathleen Moore, who paid $15,000 in tax over an investment in a foreign business in India. The Moores say they never actually received income from their investment, what tax experts call realized gains. They're asking the Supreme Court to rule that they should never have been taxed at all.
It's a pretty far-fetched request.
Mindy Hertzfeld teaches tax law at the University of Florida. Far-fetched because there are a whole host of tax rules which impose levies on either direct income or investment gains and corporate profits.
The code today doesn't operate on a strict cash-based receipt of income principle, but depending on how the court rules in this case, that's what it could turn into.
And that would restrict Congress's taxing authority. Ironically, business groups and conservatives supported the imposition of the tax in question. It was part of the 2017 tax reform law passed by congressional Republicans. Now, many of those groups are supporting the Moores. So what changed?
But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter.
President Biden has been pushing for a tax on wealth, including on unrealized gains on assets and investments. That's an idea that's faced strong opposition. The Supreme Court could now weigh in with a decisive ruling. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
The real estate mess in China could soon come to a head. A huge property developer narrowly avoided liquidation this week when a judge in China delayed a court date until next month. Evergrande owes an enormous amount, about $300 billion. And now the Moody's rating agency has issued what's called a negative outlook for China's government debt, stopping short of a ratings downgrade. Marketplace's Jennifer Pack has more from Shanghai.
Evergrande got as big as it did by borrowing recklessly. All Chinese property developers did. But Evergrande stood out because it spent lavishly for land, a soccer team, and an electric vehicle company. But the spending spree stopped in 2021. Not as many people were buying in smaller areas, and Chinese regulators made it a lot harder for real estate firms to borrow. China's housing market took a dive and remains weak. In the last 2 years, Evergrande hasn't made more money, yet it still has to complete hundreds of thousands of pre-sold condos, and it owes money to suppliers, construction workers, and lenders. The firm was working to repay offshore creditors, but the plan was dropped in September when the company said its chairman was being investigated for illegal crimes. One creditor, desperate to recover some of their losses, has taken Evergrande to court in Hong Kong to force the company's liquidation. That decision has now been delayed till January 29th, which gives Evergrande less than 2 months to come up with a better restructuring plan. In Shanghai, I'm Jennifer Pack for Marketplace.
Markets, S&P futures are down 0.3%, NASDAQ futures down 0.4%. Unknown investors made millions of dollars setting up trades in financial markets that paid off when Hamas attacked Israel October 7th. 2 professors, one at Columbia University, the other at NYU, noticed the trading pattern, which suggests some investors might have known in advance about the planned attack. The news agency Reuters says the Israel Securities Authority is investigating this large-scale short selling, an arrangement where investors can profit on a bet of financial instruments' value will fall. In one example, the professors found more than expected short selling of Leumi, Israel's biggest bank, in the weeks before the attack, made investors more than $860 million.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by UKG, an HR payroll and workforce management solution designed with people in mind to help make a fairy tale workplace a reality. UKG, our purpose is people. And by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at schwab.com.
Billionaire Mark Cuban has arranged to sell a majority of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks to the family that owns the Las Vegas Sands Casino. The Associated Press values the deal at about $3.5 billion. Cuban will retain control of basketball operations, but he's also interested in a stadium and maybe a casino in Dallas. Marketplace's Elizabeth Troval has more.
When it comes to bets and gambling, the world of professional sports has certainly changed its tune over the years, says Victor Matheson with College of the Holy Cross.
So 25 years ago, sports leagues in the U.S. were terrified of gambling. They were worried about things like in the NBA, referee Tim Donaghy was fixing matches.
Now, professional sports teams are lobbying in favor of betting. And since the Supreme Court overturned the nationwide ban, dozens of states have legalized it. One of the biggest holdouts is Texas. Brandon Ridinghouse is a political scientist with the University of Houston.
Religious groups are concerned about the fate of gambling because they think that it brings an unsavory element potentially into the state.
The Texas legislature, which meets every 2 years, has kept sports betting illegal for now, but
gaming interests are in this for the long term. This is a massive state. There is a tremendous amount of revenue to be had here for gaming interests.
In states where sports gambling is legal, Victor Matheson says roughly $1,000 of wagers are made per capita each year.
It means about 30 billion potential dollars of wagers being made. It means somewhere around $2 or $3 billion of revenue being generated by the sports books.
And Andrew Zimbalist with Smith College says for Mark Cuban, this deal could help advance plans for a new Mavericks stadium.
The team now stands a better chance of having a new arena built with the casino next door to it.
In the state, Las Vegas Sands owner Miriam Adelson will join Houston Rockets owner Tillman Fertitta, who also owns casinos and promotes sports betting in Texas, says Jordan Bender with Citizens JMP Securities.
With Las Vegas Sands now coming into the mix and owning another sports team within Texas, that is a very powerful, influential group of people that are stepping into the state. There'll definitely be increased pressure to get, whether it's brick and mortar casinos or sports gambling or even both into the state in the coming years.
In other words, the odds of legal sports gambling in Texas may be improving. In Houston, I'm Elizabeth Troval for Marketplace.
I see bonds are up, pulling the 10-year interest rate down to 4.2%. David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.
Support for WNYC comes from New York Presbyterian. New York Presbyterian has had the largest transplant program in the nation since 2005. Stay amazing. More at nyp.org. Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network, UNOS 2022.
Up next, the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Today on the Brian Lehrer Show, Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, imagines what a second Trump term would look like. Plus, a check-in on the UN climate conference, also known as COP28. That's at 10 this morning on WNYC. 40 and partly sunny now. Today, increasing clouds. 43, cold in the city tonight. Then tomorrow, partly sunny at chilly 41. And Thursday, increasing clouds and 40.
This is WNYC FM HD and AM New York.
Welcome to NewsHour from the BBC World Service. I'm Rebecca Kesby. Today in Gaza, as Israeli tanks approach Khan Yunis in the south, the UN says civilians face an even more hellish scenario. But a senior Israeli politician tells us the chaos can't continue forever.
We are not going anywhere, and they are not going anywhere. We'll have to live side by side. Israelis and Palestinians are here to stay.
The president of Nigeria wants a full investigation into how military drone strikes killed dozens of villagers. The army says it was a mistake, so what happened? There's concern about growing gang violence in Sweden.
It's awful. You hear reports about violence happening every day. You wake up in the morning and you read the newspapers and it's been multiple explosions most days.
And the new controversial video game Grand Theft Auto is coming, this time with a female lead character. First, the news.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The World Health Organization says the situation in Gaza is getting worse by the hour, with intensified bombardments by Israeli forces around the southern towns of Khan Yunis and Rafah. The Gazan Health Ministry says that more than 40 dead bodies were brought to Nasser Hospital this morning. Yolande Nell reports.
Ambulances, a pickup truck, even a donkey cart rushed dozens of wounded people into a hospital in Khan Yunis this morning.